Hey, Shalom, Akim. Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Come with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. And before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Vakah, Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's going to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. You Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations, but your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. I want to say peace and blessings to you all. Barakathon. All right. So, Lord willing, I'm going to keep this pretty brief. I was watching this video earlier. All right. It's a real heavy video. And this is a video that definitely pushes forward with prophecy. You know what I'm saying? Definitely pushes forward with prophecy. All right. And I'm going to get a bit of that, throughout this lesson. But, as you can see, this is about 58, it's about an hour long. You know what I'm saying? And it says, how the U.S. exploits Europe, treating its allies like vassals. All right? Like vassals. Well, if you understand how empires work, you know what I'm saying, you know that these are indeed vassals. And that's according to prophecy. Right? So even though this is about an hour long, you know what I'm saying, I'm only going to let close to 10 minutes play. You know what I'm saying, give or take. All right? So without further ado, let's listen in.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Then daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word. They're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. Well, remember, I'm the one that ended Nord Stream 2. Going to a place called Germany, come to think of it. I'm sorry I did that. But I ended Nord Stream 2. Nobody else did.
There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that? Exactly. Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
It has become increasingly obvious to people all around the world that the United States does not really have allies. It has countries that it uses to advance its own political and economic interests.
All right. So let's get this started in Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6. It reads, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. All right, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. All right, the nations are mad because the world is seeing how these vassal states, you have to call them what they are, man. They're not allies. You see what I'm saying? You don't treat your allies the way that America treats her allies. You see what I'm saying? This whore treats those that she lays with, all right, as playthings. All right, just to give you an image of how this is actually playing out prophetically. All right. And the nations are mad, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, all the people, the world is watching as these so-called allies of America are kowtowing and crawling on their knees, like you just saw right there. You know what I'm saying? He's going down, kneeling down to pick up the papers for Trump. You know what I'm saying? All right, just pretty much showing that they have no backbone. They have no backbone. You know what I'm saying? No cojones, no coconuts. You know what I'm saying? All right. And this is one of the defining factors that's going to lead into all these nations, all right, turning their armaments against America, man. All right. So continuing.
And the presidency of Donald Trump has made this very clear. Trump is extremely transactional. And when it comes to foreign relations, he's only interested in what other countries can do for the United States. However, it should be clear that this kind of aggressive imperialist approach did not start with Donald Trump. As is so often the case, this is a decades-long problem, and other past U.S. presidents carried out very similar policies, but Trump has removed all nuance and made it as clear as day. And this is especially evident in Trump's economic war that he's been waging on countries all around the world, and the tariffs that he's been imposing not only on Washington's geopolitical adversaries, but also on longtime so-called U.S. allies. And the best example of this is how Trump has treated Europe. This July, Trump imposed an unequal treaty on Europe, an extreme...
And just to point that out, he mentioned pretty boldly that that he took down the Nord Stream pipelines. You know what I'm saying? As we already know, that situation went down under Biden's administration. All right, but he speaks as if this happened under his watch. All right. Well, it doesn't matter under whose watch it was. It happened under America. All right? Either it's a Democrat in office or it's a Republican in office. It's the same bird. America has done this. And all these nations all around the world has watched. All right? Let me see. Let me get this. Stout. This is the book of Daniel. All right, Daniel chapter 7 and verse 20, excuse me. Daniel 7 and 20, it says, "And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows." All right, this particular beast is that revival of Rome. All right, that revival of Rome, and it would have these 10 horns. All right, these 10 horns are representative of the vassal states. You see what I'm saying? The vassal entities that would, be used to help prop up this beast. All right. 3 of whom had fell. 3 of whom fallen. You know what I'm saying? That would be Spain, French, Great Britain. All right. When you go into the book of Revelation, all right, the 17th chapter. All right, and it's talking about these nations. All right, this beast that would hate the whore. Okay, but as you can clearly see, his stout, all right, he's more stout or more prideful, more pompous, all right, than his fellows. Okay.
Unequal agreement in which the U.S. benefits and the EU gets nothing. As the Financial Times put it, the EU succumbed to Trump's tariff steamroller. The key part of this very one-sided agreement that Trump has imposed on Europe is that the EU will allow the US to impose 15% tariffs on all EU exports to the US, and the EU will have no tariffs on US goods. So US companies will be protected from European competition, but European companies will not be protected from US competition.
How does that sound like an ally to you? All right? How does that sound like an ally to anybody? That's not a fair deal. You see what I'm saying? That's not a fair trade. The scriptures say, he that is evil to himself, to whom will he do good, man? You're being evil to your own self, man. All right? These are your own people that you're ripping off. You see what I'm saying? These are your own people. These are your own fellow Edomites. All right? These are empires and states, okay, that helped you become what you are. Okay? Look at that deal. Look at that deal. All the benefit is to the whore, and no benefit goes to these other states. Right?
This is why British state media, the BBC, said very clearly that US industries are winning from this deal and European industries are losing. In particular, European car industries, like the massive German car industry with major German automakers like Volkswagen and BMW and Mercedes-Benz, they're going to lose out because any European car exported to the US will be more expensive, 15% more expensive, whereas US car companies will be able to export their autos to Europe with no tariff. So they're going to be more competitive at a lower price point in Europe. And the same thing is true for the US pharmaceutical industry. US drugs will be cheaper in Europe, whereas European drugs will be more expensive in the US. Although I should point out that Trump has constantly claimed falsely that Europe will pay for these tariffs. That's not true. Other countries don't pay for tariffs. It is importers in the US that pay for tariffs. So for instance, car dealers in the US who sell German cars like BMWs or Volkswagens, those car dealers will have to pay a 15% tariff on the imports into the US, not the German automakers. They're not actually paying the tariff, but they will be hurt because it will be more difficult for them to compete in the US market. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the US consumer that is going to have to pay higher prices for European products, which is why the BBC also said correctly that US consumers lose from this deal.
And you gotta think about that, man, because it's not just Americans, everyday Americans. Slocky. Let me turn these off. Excuse me. Slocky. Fix that. Okay. It's not just going to negatively impact Americans. It's also going to impact Europeans as well. All right. Everyday, ordinary, average 9 to 5 working Europeans too. Okay. So let me get this here. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. It reads, "Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home." All right? They don't stay where they're at, you know what I'm saying? They go all around the world, all right, causing all kinds of problems. You know what I'm saying? I believe it was the Colombian president who said this, but somebody said that we don't need an emperor. All right? We don't need an emperor. You see what I'm saying? This is why our Apostle Tahar believes, hey, this is Emperor Nero coming back. All right? And I concur with that. Okay? It says, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, not neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." All right? You can't have enough, man. All right, always needs to have more. This is Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 15. The horse leech hath 2 daughters, crying, give, give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied. Never satisfied. Excuse me. Yeah, 4 things say not, it is enough. And these jokers can never say it's enough, man. All right. America always has to have its hands in someone else's pockets. All right. And this is what's ultimately going to cause these other nations to turn their backs, all right, on this whore, man. Literally, I just saw an article going into the UK. All right, UK is threatening to recognize Palestine as a state. You know what I'm saying? And Canada is following suit. All right, because everybody sees that this place is this place America is the the bootlick for these Amalekites who call themselves JOOs. You see what I'm saying? That's not a secret. So all of this stuff is mounting up. All right.
Trump wins. U.S. corporations and, big billionaires who funded Trump's campaign, they all win because they face less competition internationally, more domestic protection, and U.S. consumers and European companies lose from this one-sided deal. This is why a European diplomat told the Financial Times that Trump is, quote, the bully in the schoolyard, and we didn't join others in standing up to him. Those who don't hang together get hanged separately, end quote. Another European official pointed out that the EU would be in a much better position economically if it had actually retaliated when Trump first announced these tariffs on Europe in April. This is what China did. China defended itself when Trump imposed these unilateral aggressive tariffs. They were not reciprocal, as Trump falsely claimed.
You see that? You see that? And all these nations are about to turn against America. All of her allies, quote unquote, are about to turn against her, man. Okay? Because they saw what happened with China. China stood their ground, and they're doing just fine. You know what I'm saying? Russia stood their ground in the face of these sanctions and whatnot. They're doing just fine. All right. While all these other European countries, such as UK, Germany, so on and so forth, all right, they're taking the brunt of all this abuse. You see what I'm saying? This joker straight up bragged in their faces. That America destroyed the pipelines. America destroyed the Nord Stream pipelines, man. But when it came out, you know what I'm saying, when the truth came out that they destroyed those pipelines, every media outlet, outsource, or shall I say outlet, you know what I'm saying, was going against it, saying that that it was lies, that it was this and that. No, it was the truth. It was the truth. They knew it. They knew it all along. And when they destroyed that pipeline, when they destroyed all that access to Russian oil and Russian goods, you know what I'm saying? All right, it was just a devastating blow to Europe. A devastating blow to Europe, because now Europe had no other choice but to buy from America. And America is not fair with their prices. You see what I'm saying? They was getting all that oil and stuff like that from Russia for cheap. You see what I'm saying? But they got to pay damn near double, almost triple. You know what I'm saying? Buying from America because they're greedy. All right, because they're greedy. He who is evil to himself, to whom will he do good, man? All right.
Unilateral, and China responded proportionately with actual reciprocal tariffs, saying to the U.S., every time you hit our companies with tariffs, we will hit your companies with tariffs. And Trump was forced to back down. What did Europe do? Europe completely capitulated. It gave in and surrendered and said, yes, sir, Emperor Trump, we will do whatever you want. And this is how we ended up in the situation where not only is Europe accepting this very one-sided deal in which the US will hit European companies with tariffs, but not vice versa, but it's not just that, it even gets worse. The pro-US Atlanticist leader of the EU, the Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen, announced proudly that Europe will purchase $750 billion worth of US energy. As von der Leyen put it, quote, "We will replace Russian gas and oil with significant purchases of US liquefied natural gas, LNG, oil, and nuclear fuels," end quote. So she's boasting.
Yeah, she's not boasting. She's forced to say that shit. You know what I'm saying? If she had to choose between this oil coming from America, that's a hefty ass fucking price, nigga. $750 billion. $750 billion. You see what I'm saying? And they was probably getting that junk from Russia for half the price. Probably a quarter of the price. You see what I'm saying? That's good business. This ain't good business, man. This is terrible. This is horrible, man. All right? Horrible. Let's get this in Obadiah chapter 1, verse 7. It reads, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee," these people were at peace with America. All right? These vassal states, they were at peace with America. Not anymore. Very soon they're going to turn against America, man. All right? And I truly believe that whatever this massive event that's going to be the catalyst for, you know what I'm saying, for that hour of temptation, I truly believe that that's going to be the nail in the coffin. You know what I'm saying? And all these nations is going to say, fuck America. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. All right? Because something truly bad is going to have to happen for all these nations to all together, all right, say to hell with America. You know what I'm saying? So it says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him." All right, all of her allies are going to turn against her, man. Okay, they were once joined by the hip. Okay, but very soon they're going to say, "Go somewhere." You know what I'm saying? Go somewhere, man. You know what I'm saying? We've got nothing but problems dealing with you. You know, they're going to join with Russia. They're going to join with China. They're going to join with these other nations, man. All right, BRICS and what have you. They're going to be sick of it. All right? This is just terrible business.
Of how the US benefits from this deal and Europe has to pay for more expensive energy instead of getting cheap pipeline gas from Russia, which is significantly less expensive than US LNG, which has to be sent across the Atlantic Ocean. And furthermore, Trump also claimed that as part of this deal, Europe will have to invest $600 billion in the US economy to benefit the US at the expense of Europe. Here's a clip from the press conference in which Trump boasts about the details of the agreement.
They're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have.
So these deals...
MAGA thinks that money's going to them. These jokers who truly believe in your boy Trump, man. All right, Emperor Nero, they truly believe that this is going to be to their benefit. All right, nah, all that money, that's going straight to his friends. That's going straight to his friends. And he already showed you, if y'all asking about that goddamn list, you ain't his friends no more. Hey man, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Donald Trump has imposed on Europe at the expense of the European people to benefit U.S. corporations are perfect symbols of how the U.S. exploits its so-called allies. These are unequal treaties. And Trump was so happy when he announced this agreement that he imposed on the EU. He called it the biggest deal ever.
It's a very powerful deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest of all the deals. It will be the biggest of all the deals. So we're very honored to have done so.
And one of the most revealing moments in the press conference announcing this deal was a journalist asked Ursula von der Leyen, the EU commissioner, what does the EU get from this deal? Does the US make any concessions?
Nope.
And of course, von der Leyen did not really answer the question, but the answer is no. The US is not making any concessions. In fact, this vassal, this puppet of the US, von der Leyen, talked about how actually the EU previously had a trade surplus with the US. So we need to bend over backward to benefit the US at our expense. These are the so-called leaders in charge of Europe who are serving their region to the US empire on a silver platter.
I have a question for the EU Commission President. What are the US concessions? What is the US giving up in the deal, if anything?
So the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the US side. And we wanted to rebalance the trade relation. And we wanted to do it in a way that trade goes on between the two of us across the Atlantic, because the two biggest economies should have a good trade flow between us. And I think we hit exactly the point we wanted to find. Rebalance, but enable trade on both sides, which means good jobs on both sides of the Atlantic, means prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic. And that was important for us.
And again, the energy is a very important component because we have more energy than anybody else in that sense. And I think it was very wise. They buy a lot of energy, and it's great stuff, and it solves a lot of problems. So that was a great decision, I think.
So to summarize, a journalist asked the EU leader, what is the US giving up? And she said nothing. The US gets everything, and Europe gives up everything.
Hey, that's it. That's how the cookie crumbles, man. You know what I'm saying? This is prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 17. All right. Revelation chapter 17, let's start at verse 1. It reads, and there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. All right, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. All right, remember, as the ruler of the city is, as so are his people. You know what I'm saying? And all these nations that have stood shoulder to shoulder with America, okay, have been on the decline. All right, it was sweet at first, but yeah, this is not sustainable. You know what I'm saying? All these nations are looking at this at this partnership, quote unquote, okay, and they're not seeing the benefit. And the only thing that their leaders are able to do is just capitulate to what they want. All right, just to bow down and service this whore. All right. Let me jump down to verse 5. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Jumping down, verse 12, excuse me. Verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings. 1 hour with the beast. All right. These vassal states. Okay. The European Union, EU. All right. NATO is the beast. Okay. This is what the whore rides upon, man. Okay. She rides upon this beast. And let me see. Verse 13, it says, "These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and are chosen and faithful." All right, that has not happened yet. That's going to happen when all these nations are fighting against each other. When all these nations turn against this whore, all right, Babylon, aka America, when they turn against this place and they start fighting, all right, that's when you're going to see Yahushua return, the Lamb. All right, verse 15, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest were where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." All right, that's why we got in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2. All right, he heapeth together all nations. All right, all peoples. Verse 16, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." All right, that's what's going to happen when this world war reaches its climax. All these nations are going to turn against America and aim all their nukes towards America. All right, all the nations. You see what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to give you like about 10 minutes of this video. All right, you can go back and you can watch more of it if you want. All right, it's geopolitical economy report on YouTube. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that there. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, V'chak, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and who teach well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.